Good afternoon, boys and girls. My name is Miss Melissa, and I am your host for today. Your teacher is Miss Baker. Today we will learn about fairy tales and how to distinguish fantasy from realistic fiction.
Today's lesson is titled, The Fisherman and His Wife. I cannot wait to see what the fisherman's wife wishes for. By the end of today's lesson, we will also be able to determine the meaning of words by using prefixes like dis, D-I-S, N, E-N, and the suffix ed added to the end of a word. We will identify real-life connections between the words enchanted, displeases, and hesitated and their use. Now let's go back and think for a moment and review from yesterday what a fairy tale actually is. We know that fairy tales sometimes begin with once or once upon a time. We know that fairy tales are stories that have royal characters such as a prince or a princess, a king or a queen. And we know that sometimes a character in a fairy tale will have magic powers. We also know that many things happen in a fairy tale that wouldn't happen in real life. And that means that fairy tales are fiction. Over the next several days, we're going to share some of our most favorite fairy tales with you. So we want you to tune in and join us each day. Today, we are going to hear a fairy tale about a fisherman and his wife and a magic fish. This story was originally written by two brothers called the Brothers Grimm. We live in Mississippi, right at the bottom of North America. The Brothers Grimm lived all the way across in the continent of Europe, in the country of Germany. So they were far away from where we live today. Now we're going to look at our KWL chart from yesterday, and we're going to put up all of the things that we know about fairy tales. We know that fairy tale characters can be a king, a queen, or a prince or a princess. We also know that they're make-believe. Some fairy tales begin with once or once upon a time. The things that we want to know are, do fairy tales really teach a life lesson? And will the characters have magical powers? At the end of today's story, we'll put up the things that we have learned. We're going to play a game today, and you can play at home with us. You can pretend to have a fishing pole. Miss Melissa has a fishing pole today, and we're going to fish for some vocabulary words. Do you have your pretend rod and reel ready? Okay, I'm going to fish for a word, and then we're going to match it with its meaning. Are you ready? Here we go. What is the first fish we caught?
Displeases.
Displeases. That's right. And we know that displeases means that we feel unhappy or bothered about something. So if we're displeased, we're really not very happy about it. All right, are you ready? We're going to do some more fishing. Here we go. I wonder what this one's going to be. Uh-oh, I think she caught something. I see it tugging.
Enchanted.
We caught the word enchanted. Does anybody remember what enchanted means? That's right. It means as if under a magical spell. All right, one more time, Miss Melissa.
You ready?
Catch
Let
the
me
big
see.
one. I wonder what we're going to get.
Hesitated.
Hesitated. Awesome. Does anybody remember what hesitated means? Hesitated means to stop briefly for just a second before doing something. So we hesitate before we do something that we're not really sure about. Now, that was an awesome
That
job.
was a great catch.
And I hope you had fun fishing at home. You can do this with any words that you learn or anything that you might like to practice. That's a good way to do it, is to use your fishing pole. Now, we're ready to read our story. Are you ready? When we read, remember that sometimes fairy tales will have a royal character or one with magical powers. I want you to take just a second to think about what character might have magic powers in this story. Listen very carefully to see if you hear the words displeases, enchanted, or hesitated, and also if your predictions come true. Now, on with the story. I'm so excited. We're ready to go.
We're going to do a quick summary of the fisherman and his wife. Once there was a fisherman who lived with his wife in a little old rundown hut by the sea. Every day the fisherman went down to the sea to fish. One day, as the fisherman sat looking into the clear, shining water, he felt a strong tug on his line. He pulled and pulled with all his might until at last out flopped a large golden flounder. Then, all of a sudden, the fish spoke to him. "Please let me go," said the fish. "I am not an ordinary fish. I am an enchanted prince. Put me back in the water and let me live." "Swim away," said the fisherman. "I would not eat a fish that can talk." At the end of the day, the fisherman went back to his wife in the little old rundown hut. "Didn't you catch anything today?" she asked. "No," said the fisherman. "I did not catch one fish. But he told me I did catch one fish, but he told me he was an enchanted prince and asked me to throw him back. So I did." "You fool," said the wife. "That was a magic fish. You should have asked him for something." "Like what?" said the fisherman. "Go back and ask him to change this dinky hut into a charming cottage." The fisherman did not want to go back, but he did not want to argue with his wife either, so he made his way back to the sea. When he arrived, the water was no longer clear and shining. It was dull and greenish. The fisherman called, "Hear me, please, oh magic fish. My wife has sent me with a wish." The fish swam up to the surface and asked, "What does she want?" "She says she wants to live in a charming cottage," said the fisherman. "Go home," said the fish. "She has her cottage." The fisherman went home. Sure enough, there was his wife, standing in the doorway of a charming cottage. The fisherman's wife was happy for about a week. Then she said, "Husband, I am tired of this tiny little cottage. I want to live in a big stone castle. Go and ask the fish to give us a castle." The fisherman shook his head and he mumbled to himself, "It's not right." But he did as he was told. When the fisherman got back, he could hardly believe his eyes. The charming cottage had been replaced by a large stone castle. "Now indeed you will be content," said the fisherman to his wife. And she was, until the next morning. As the sun rose, the fisherman's wife poked her husband in the side and said, "Husband, get up. Go to the fish at once and tell him that I want to be queen of all the land." "Heavens!" cried the fisherman. "I can't ask for that." "Go and ask him," said his wife. The dejected fisherman walked to the sea. The water was black. It bubbled and gave off a foul smell. The fisherman hesitated and then called, "Hear me, please, O magic fish. My wife has sent me with a wish." The fish swam up and asked, "Now, what does she want?" With his head hung low, the fisherman said, "My wife, she wishes to be queen of all the land." The fisherman returned home, where he found his wife sitting on a high throne studded with diamonds. She wore a long silk dress and a golden crown. In her hand she held a scepter studded with rubies. "Husband," she bellowed, "it displeases me that the sun and the moon will not rise and set at my command. Go to the fish at once and tell him I must have the power to make the sun and the moon rise and set whenever I choose. See that it is done immediately." The fisherman walked back to the sea. The fisherman had to shout, "Hear me, please, O magic fish. My wife has sent me with a wish." The fish swam up and he asked, "What does she want?" The fisherman replied, "My wife wants the power to make the sun and the moon rise and set whenever she chooses." The fish only said, "Go home." And so he did. There he found his wife sitting in the old run-down hut, and there they live to this very day.
Now, boys and girls, let's see what you remember about the story, about this fairy tale. And I want you to try to answer in complete sentences and to restate the question when you respond. What characters have we met so far in the fairy tale? You're right. Terrific. Miss Melissa?
They're right. They did meet a fisherman. They met a flounder. They met the fisherman's wife and also 2 servants at the castle.
Wow. How does the wife know that the fish is enchanted? You're right. That's correct.
They are there. They listened very carefully.
They sure did.
We know that the fish was enchanted because he was talking to them.
The fisherman caught the flounder, but then he let him go. Who did the flounder say that he was? Terrific. That is correct. Miss Melissa?
The flounder told them that he was an enchanted prince and he had been cast under a magic spell.
So he was enchanted.
Yes, he was enchanted.
Wow. What things, think back in the story, did the wife ask the flounder for? Well, she met her husband, asked the flounder. What things did she want?
Great job, boys and girls. The first thing that she asked for was correct, a cottage. Then she asked for a castle. Then she asked to be queen. And then the last thing that she asked for was what? Correct. She asked to command that the sun rise and set when she wanted it to.
And I guess that must have made the flounder angry.
Yes, he was very angry.
So now we're going to talk about some of the words that we've learned. And we're going to talk about not only what they mean, but the way that we use them. So in the read aloud, you heard the fisherman's wife say, "It displeases me that the sun and the moon will not rise and set at my command." Say the word displeases with me. Ready? Displeases. Displeases means, remember? You are right, to be unhappy or bothered about something. And a sentence might be, "It displeases the baseball players when their game is canceled because of rain." Tell me about something that displeases you. Use the word displeases in your sentence. Great job. Miss Melissa, can you do a sentence for us?
Let me think. It displeases me when I do not get to go outside and play when it's raining. Displeases.
That's the word we're talking about. Displeases. The prefix dis, D-I-S, often makes a word have an opposite meaning. Opposite words are called antonyms or opposite. So displeases is the opposite of pleases. Now we're going to use this magic fish, and this magic fish has a happy face on one side and a sad face on the other side. And Miss Melissa is going to use it as I read a sentence to tell if it displeases you or if it pleases you. If it pleases you, we're going to use the happy side. And if it displeases you, we're going to use the sad side. Now, you're at home and you could use your face to smile or to frown. Or you could use a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Whatever you have at home. Or you can just pretend with Miss Melissa. Are you ready? Remember, displeases means to not be happy. Pleases means to be happy. Here we go. You wake up in the morning and it snowed overnight. Would it please you or displease you?
Let me see. What's your answer? Awesome. Correct. It pleases me
Because we
to
can
wake
go
up to the
outside
snow.
and
Yes.
play. That would be fun. We're going to do another one. Your best friend invites you over to play.
Awesome. Great job. Correct. It pleases me.
And it starts to rain on Saturday afternoon.
Y'all were quick with that answer. Awesome. It displeases me as well when it's raining. Awesome job.
Our next word is enchanted. Enchanted means as if under a magical spell. Remember in the story, the fish said, "I am not an ordinary fish. Please throw me back. I am enchanted," which meant he had magic powers. Say the word enchanted with me. Ready? Enchanted. So enchanted means that, this is a sentence that shows the meaning of enchanted. The enchanted forest has jewels dripping from the branches of the trees. Think about something that is enchanted. Try to use the word enchanted when you tell about it. Great job. Miss Melissa, can you tell us a sentence that uses the word enchanted?
Yes, my favorite. Snow White hid in the enchanted forest from the wicked witch.
What is the word we've been talking about, boys and girls?
Enchanted.
Enchanted. Very
Correct.
good. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the word displeases. In this word, however, enchanted, we see that the prefix en is added to the word to change its meaning. Enchanted is a synonym or the same. Sometimes when I forget the difference between an antonym and a synonym, I think about the S at the beginning of both words, and that helps me remember. S is for same. I'm going to read the examples again, and if it pleases you or it says you are enchanted, then you're going to use enchanted. And if not, it is not enchanted. Ready? Here we go. You enter into a room and it takes you to magical places.
Awesome. Great job. That is correct. That is enchanted.
The boys went camping in the forest.
Great job again. That is not enchanted.
The trees in the forest were sparkling with beautiful jewels.
Great job again. Enchanted.
And
Sparkling.
one more. Sparkly, that's right. The talking fish broke the fisherman's line as he reeled it in.
They already have their answers up. Great
Wow.
job. That is enchanted.
What is our word?
Enchanted.
Which means to be under a spell. The very last word we will do today is hesitated. The suffix ed changes the word's meaning when you add it. Hesitate means, or hesitated means, to stop briefly before doing something. We're going to do the sentences for the last time. Do you have your magic fish ready? Here we go. Look, there is a snake.
Ooh, look at those faces out there.
I know.
Correct. Hesitated. Awesome job.
My birthday party started.
Uh-oh, look at the thumbs up out there. Did you hesitate? Correct. Awesome. You did not hesitate.
You will have 1 minute to take this spelling test.
Look at their faces. They're rushing to get it up.
Uh-huh.
What is it? Am I correct?
I hesitated.
I hesitated. Awesome job.
And the last one. Surprise! We are going to Disney World for Christmas.
I'm going to have to answer that. I did not hesitate to go to Disney World. Awesome job, boys and girls.
Our new word is hesitated, which means to stop briefly. We're going to very quickly add to our KWL chart for what we learned. And we learned that some of the characters have magical powers and that there is a lesson to be learned from our story. What was our lesson, Miss Melissa? What did you learn from the story?
I learned that characters do have magical powers, and the fish had a magical power in this story. And I also learned that there is a lesson to be learned from this fairy tale.
And it is to be grateful for what you have and not to be greedy like the fisherman's wife.
That's right.
Because then everything was taken away from her.
Thank you for joining us today. All rights and credits from this lesson belong to Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to thank them for publicly sharing these materials.
Share what you learned today, boys and girls. Tell someone at home or in your neighborhood about everything you learned about fairy tales and about our new vocabulary words. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you again very soon.